Conversations. I am Red Alert.
I'm Real Insight.
And today we have a very, very, very special guest with us today. We have a multi-hyphenate, if you will. He is a 3-time Grammy Award winner, 2-time Emmy Award winner, 1-time Dove Award winner, Country Music Lifting Voices Award winner, TSU Hall of Fame, and artist on the CMA board. He's an artist, writer, producer, director, currently a BMI executive, the founder and director of 102.1 DeVille. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Shannon Sanders.
Hey, man. Good to see you too,
Man, it's so good to finally get a chance to meet you. It's real good to have you here with us today. Man, you are truly an industry expert. I mean, in so many different things and so many different facets. But before we even get into all that, let's talk a little bit about this sip we got today.
Oh, man, we got something special today.
You got something good, brother?
Oh, yeah, man. My favorite scotch.
All right.
So we're on this Glenmorangie 18 year.
Talk to me.
All right. So I got started with scotch. See, scotch is an acquired taste. I didn't get into scotch till my 40s, actually. And so I started with Macallan 12, which is nice. It's solid. There's a Macallan 18. And then at very top is that Johnny Walker Blue label. This is definitely not for a novice. This is someone that can appreciate not just a bourbon or a whiskey, but something on another level as well. So I hope you enjoy this, brother.
Absolutely.
Glenmorangie 18.
Glenmorangie,
right.
18 years.
So,
Yeah,
cheers.
Cheers.
But, so, just curious.
Yeah, that's nice.
We drink a lot of bourbons. We drink a lot of whiskeys, and
Yeah.
Scotch is somewhat new to me.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the three of these things?
Yeah. So whiskey is kind of like the umbrella. Everything is under whiskey. All right. So you may have heard the term before. All bourbons are whiskeys, but not all whiskeys are bourbon because they're distilled differently. Okay. So with a bourbon, it has to be 51% corn.
Okay.
All right. And so when you look at whiskey, it can be a mix of that, but it does not have that distinct 51% corn distilled in the mash, so to speak.
Okay.
Then you have the cognacs. And so that's made in the French regions, and that's distilled with grapes. So it's a lot smoother, a lot sweeter.
Okay.
All right. And then you have tequila with the blue agave fruit. And so it gives that little twang to it. So it's distilled different. Then you have sake, which is not distilled, is brewed more like a wine or beer. And so that's with rice. So it's all about what it's the ingredients in that makes it different.
Now, I've always understood too, bourbon, and I think that they reclassified bourbon, but I know for a long time it had to be made in Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
To be classified bourbon.
Yeah. So yes and no. All right. And whiskey's out of Tennessee, but it doesn't, as long as it has a mix of the ingredients that I talked about earlier. So if it's 51% corn, it could be made anywhere. It would be technically a bourbon, but the purist will say it has to be made in Kentucky. Yeah.
Well,
Amazing.
you chose a pretty good one, man. I'll give you
That's
that.
fantastic. Good slow sipping right here.
Right. Slow sipper. It has bourbon tendencies to it because it's aged in those bourbon barrels with that sherry, hint of sherry for another 3 years on top of that. And again, not a whole lot of smoke.
So, and I know been on this for a little bit, but with bourbons, you have a lot of mixed drinks and all that kind of stuff that people make with them. Do you do that with scotch, or is scotch typically just something that you drink straight and you just kind of?
Yeah, even the cheap scotch, like my mom and dad in New Orleans grew up on that JB scotch in the green bottle. That's how they tried to tour me from drinking when I wanted something so bad. They say, "Oh, you want some? Try it." That shit was nasty. They would mix it with a little water just to light it up, and you just cut it a little bit. So no, you don't normally mix scotches with Cokes and Sprites and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's usually straight.
Nah, it's good straight. It's good straight. Shannon,
That's nice. Yes, sir.
multi-hyphenate, producer, Grammy Award winner, all those things we just said.
When you say it, bro.
Do it.
Wow, man.
Hey, man, I mean, it's the truth, though. It's the truth. You've done a lot of stuff in the music industry. To give us a little bit of your background, because you got started in this very early on in the game.
Man, I got started early on. My grandfather was the pastor, and so I grew up playing in his churches, of course, playing keys. But then I was in the band at school. I was in all-state trumpet player school.
Okay.
Fast forward, wound up going to Tennessee State as a music major, playing in the Aristocratic Band. Shout out to the Aristocratic Bands.
Yes, sir.
And then I was also in one of the first hip-hop groups in Nashville to make a record. So you're talking mid-'80s, and so everywhere I was, music was happening, and I was happening at a high level. Like at my grandfather's church, just fortunate enough to have one of the best organist in town, man. And just being able to stand over his shoulder and watch him do his thing, and then to have him as such a patient mentor, that was phenomenal early on in my life. And then, I had band directors that really invested in me. And then growing up and coming up with my friends, the guys that I was in the group with are still some of the most talented individuals that I met in life to this day. And so, but it all came together, I would say, when I was 19. My dad gave me some studio time for my birthday. Now, the studio is, oddly enough, is where BMI is now. There used to be a spot called Barbara Mandrell's. Barbara Mandrell had like a tourist, not a tour, a gift shop.
Okay.
Fast forward, well, rewind actually. A lot of people don't realize all this that's on Broadway was really up on Demumbrian. Up where Tin Roof is now, up close to Music Row, that little strip of bars, that's where all of that was. That's where all the gift shops were. That's where where all of that was, right? And so Barbara Mandrell had a spot, but in the basement, she had a karaoke studio. And it was like a double cassette recorder. So what they would do is say, okay, you wanted to cover, some famous country tune. They play the instrumental from one, and then there was a microphone in between, and then they record all of that on the other cassette.
Second cassette,
My dad gave me some studio time at Barbara Mandrell's, but I went in with my own tape. I went in with my own instrumentals that I'd been messing with. That was the first time that I really realized, like, you know what? It's something to this. I'd never really been alone with myself in the studio until that point. Nobody needed all of me, no matter where I was. The church, they didn't need me to make beats. The homies didn't need me to play my trumpet. School didn't need me to, play keys or arrange a choir. That was the first time I was able to be alone with all of my gifts, if you will, and have all of that be available to me. And that's when it made sense. And that's when I knew this is what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to make records, and I'm meant to be in these spaces.
So you trumpet is your instrument, right? But
and keys, yeah, equally.
That's kind of what I was going to get to. So you don't consider yourself just a trumpet player or just a keyboard player. What would you consider yourself then?
You know what? I like when people say, when football players call themselves football players, more than, a quarterback. I'm a quarterback. I'm a linebacker. For me, man, I consider myself a musician.
That's right.
Yep. Okay.
I sing, I play several things, but it's wherever I'm needed to line up that day. Wherever I'm needed, I want to contribute wherever I can contribute. Yeah.
Do it all.
Yeah. As much as I can.
You said something really interesting that I caught on to. I'd like to get you elaborating on this a little bit as well. You said your dad bought you studio time for your birthday.
Yes.
Meaning that your parents were in tune to what you wanted to do.
Yes.
And they supported you. I'm thinking it has a part of who you are today because they did support you. I want you to elaborate on what does that mean to you?
Totally. That meant everything, having a supportive family. Like I said, my grandfather being a pastor, I was already playing in his church.
Yeah.
By the time I was 15, I was leading a choir. I was leading my own choir. So the writing was on the wall very early for me. So I was never in a situation as a child where I was discouraged. Go get a real job. I was never discouraged from being creative or from, really embracing who I was fully and what I felt like it was I was meant to do or to be.
Yeah.
So that was everything. I was never discouraged. If anything, I was encouraged to do it because we'd be in church together and I would, it kept me out of trouble.
Yeah.
One of my bandmates from the group I was in, Technique, shout out to TK, his mom, man, she allowed us in their home to have a room. They had an empty bedroom. She cleared it out. And man, she just let us be teenagers back there. But man, we go back there and just make noise all day, all night. You know what I'm saying? This loud music. We back there sweating, shirt sounds rapid. You know what I mean? And making beats and beatboxing, man. But she kept us, man, in hindsight, kept us off the streets. And to talk to her now, she was very conscious of what she was doing and just providing space for us as young Black men and just creating this safe space, a creative space for us. And so very, very grateful for all the time that was spent there and not in the streets. But man, this family and community were all very supportive of me and what I had going on.
And then what you have accomplished, and we're going to get into that. Man, you're making me think about some of these old school cats, respectfully, that didn't have that. I think about the James Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Richard Pryor Wave told you ain't going to be shit. You ain't going to be nothing. Their own parents told that. And then they still came from the dirt and the gutter. How much does that take, and how difficult it is to make it when you do have that support? Just kind of give me that dynamic of understanding that Martin Luther King says once before, truth crushed to the ground will rise again. You can only bear it so much. It's going to come up. That talent is going to rise to the top.
It's going to rise, man. I'm glad that they encouraged it. The game is hard enough. So I'm glad that they encouraged it. Honestly, I feel like I would have found my way. It would have worked out. It would have been harder. No denying that. But I feel like I would have found my way. Other things for me, I think, that really pushed me. My oldest son came when I was 21. And, that switched on a light for me. It created a sense of urgency for me as a young man that I don't think you get until later. But you know what it is as men. At some point when that happens, if you step into it, you can choose to run away from it. But by choosing to lean into it, and run to it, it created, again, that sense of urgency and purpose. And it was like, man, okay, I got to do this. Like, if this is what I'm supposed to do, then let me get busy doing it.
Okay. I got you.
So that's what it was. Like, and all of this happened young. I felt like I grew up fast. But I was grateful for that. I was grateful for the encouragement. It's funny because I don't think that they realized how far it would go as far as church went. I mean, we were doing it that way. But I remember the first time my mom heard one of my songs on the radio. She called me. She said, "Oh, you serious about this little music thing?" Huh? I was like, "Yes, ma'am, I am." Like, here we are all these years later. But she didn't see it that way. She just saw it as something I was good at, one, something I was passionate about, and something that she saw that I was able to use as a vehicle to bring people together and, and to do things and to contribute in a positive way. And so, but for it to really be working in a mainstream way, it just never crossed her mind that that's what it was and that's really what I was trying to do.
So let's go back in time a little bit. You're a Nashville native. You grew up here in Nashville. Tell me a little bit about what and I'm just gonna put it in some broader context a little bit here. Nashville, what do we call it? Mid-sized city. It ain't one of the biggest cities like a New York, Chicago, LA, or whatever. But it's not. Nashville's not a small city. But it was still a kind of a crossroads city. People knew about Nashville. So I'm curious, what was the music scene like for you growing up?
It was interesting, man, because here's the thing about the Ville. It's like Nashville was really a Black music epicenter early on. So early on, it was over by 1962. So for a lot of what you think Atlanta is, Nashville had already been that. What killed it, and a lot of that lived on Jefferson Street in the clubs. It wasn't about the studios necessarily. The recorded music industry, and that was happening too. A lot of what made us Music City is we hear about the Fifth Jubilee Singers, and we know, the Queen said that this must be, with voices like this, you must be for Music City. That's the truth. But the other truth is that this is the home of Christian book publishing. So when you think Printer's Alley, there was a lot of book publishing and printing happening in Nashville. By default, all the sheet music was being printed here. That's the other thing that made it Music City, is because all the sheet music was being printed / published here. So that's a lot of it, and then you had radio station, right? So when they came online with the Grand Ole Opry, D4 Bailey being the first to perform on the Grand Ole Opry, you talking about radio station, it was private. Man, I can't tell you how strong that station was, but it didn't have a lot of competition. It didn't, there weren't as many radio stations back then as there are now. It didn't have as much, you didn't have as much competition for these airwaves. You got these stations way north, way south. And so people came here to be heard. You came here to make music, but you came here to be heard because of that radio station. That was a lot of it.
The strong religious aspect to it, the National Baptist Convention.
National Baptist, yes, sir.
That was a big deal, that being a mecca of the South.
And then with that, Christian book publishing.
There you go.
So fast forward, Jefferson Street in its heyday. what killed Jefferson Street was the interstate. Redlining killed Jefferson Street. So that's what that was about. So that's what really killed Nashville's thriving Black music industry, was the demise of Jefferson Street. So fast forward back to me making music. By the time I come along, we still had all these remnants of Jefferson Street at the time.
So to make sure that the people understand, when you say it killed Jefferson Street, they overpassed it. They didn't have to go down Jefferson anymore because they hit the interstate.
Interstate.
So not to go too far off, same thing happened in Chicago, in Bronzeville.
Well, it happened in every major American city.
It pretty much does.
And see, and what that was about was, for there to be a civil rights movement in the 60s, there was civil unrest in the 50s. Coincidentally, America's interstate system came in the 50s as well. So it was very intentional to make it where you had an exit in every major city in the heart of the Black community, just in case we need to get the National Guard in there, just in case, it didn't manifest as the nonviolent movement that it did. It could have easily gone the other way. And so a lot of these interstates coming through, which is a federal highway, now some of that was about being able to get the National Guard in and land planes in a neighborhood if you need to. So that's what that's so.
And some of them were to divide that neighborhood into sections or whatever and all that stuff. But anyway, that's kind of beside the point.
Well, this one says, as far as the music goes, there were all of these remnants from that era. And I didn't realize it until later, but a lot of the OGs at the time were people that had played on Jefferson Street or had been part of that musical lineage, man. And then, to get older and into the history of it and realize how deep it was. So when I talk about the musicians, the older musicians I was able to be influenced by, it was that. Like, these were some that turned out, man, they weren't just great in the city. They were great world-class musicians that just happened to be here in Nashville. But it's always been here. It's always been happening at a high level. Music has always been recorded and produced here at a very high level. And it's never just been country. Country got popular later in terms of what it is now as an industry, right? That industry grew here. And honestly, shout out to Nashville. Like, there aren't any other cities that can say that they house a major genre of music the way Nashville completely houses country. Like, no other city can say that it does that. So it's an incredible thing.
A quick history on what it was before, or what it was called before country, and I migrated into that.
Well, country, before it was called country, that music was called hillbilly music. When Lomax came to Appalachia, he recorded the people of Appalachia making music, and it went back to New York and, talking about he had recorded these people. Well, that's what he called these people. And that became what that kind of music was called. We talked a little earlier about genre, genre being a construct of labels and radio to market to a divided country, and so, but it never dawned on them that white folks would want to hear Black music and Black folks would love country or hillbilly, you know what I mean? And so they didn't realize that people just wanted to hear everything.
People just want to hear good music.
People just want to hear good music. And a lot of the music at the time was regional, and it was religious music or not, but the musical bed was the same. That's why a lot of, I know the Lord, that's the blues. Oh, yes, and you could be, oh, baby. Same thing, man. It depends on, so it was a lot of what you were saying. Musically, it was the same. That was just the sound of the South, musically.
Yeah.
And you and I talked about this before, is that we love music and sports because it transcends race. You don't have that. You want to play with the best musicians.
You just want to play with the best. You want to, a conversation, to be in a band, to be a part of an engine like this, like being on a team. And, man, you don't care. Listen, we just trying to get the first down. I don't care what color you are. I just need you to block. I don't care what color you are,
Just give me the ball, right?
Man, listen, I got to tell you a quick story. I had the distinct pleasure once of working with the great Michael McDonald.
Okay.
Well, and have had that honor a couple of times. So there's this one time Mike called my partner, my creative partner, Drew. Drew and I made a bunch of records together. He called us and said, listen, working through his tune.
Right?
Drew, yes. Drew Randall. Shout out to Drew. Drew is, he is the head of the songwriting department at Belmont. Mike called us and said, listen, I'm trying to work through this tune, working on the arrangement of this tune. I got to cut it later today, record it. The band is coming through. Cool. We go work through it with him. So, I mean, we sit at the piano with him for about an hour. Like I said, I play keys, and Mike is a great keyboard player. Yeah. And so after we sat at the piano for an hour, I knew the tune, right? Mike's like, look, man, the guy's about to show up, man. You might as well stay. You might as well hop on the track. Drew had a guitar. Drew was a monster guitar player. Yeah. Drew like that, play guitar. I'm like, Mike, listen, man, I'm not playing piano, bro. I'm not going to do that. Mm-hmm. I said, I tell you what, I play organ, you play piano. He said, okay. So these guys show up. Here comes the band. Guys, they all look like they ought to be in the jail time commercial. But these guys show up, and they all old white dudes. Uh-huh. Man, we got to help these guys even kind of get in the build. Yes, sir, come on and help, man, assist.
Carrying some equipment, all that.
So we get in, they listen down to the tune, hear it a few times, and so, hop on the organ, everybody, and they count it down. 2, ready, yeah. Oh, those start playing, man. I couldn't believe it. I'm looking, my eyes big as saucers. Man, when we finished that take, man, I snatched the headphones off. Man, I was like, man, what the hell is going on here, right? Michael McDonald laughs at me. He said, Shannon, meet the Muscle Shoals.
Man, see?
These are the guys that was
Yep.
The old dudes at this point. Monster players. So back to your point. Yeah. I don't care what you look like. Yeah. I don't care how old you are. Yeah. If you bumping, you bump.
Man.
Hats off to Mike McDonald. He's a real one, you know what I'm saying? Because, the Muscle Shoals Brothers, that's the only place where black artists were recorded. You mentioned Aretha Franklin.
Yes.
My dad's from Tuscumbia, Alabama, which is the country town right outside of Muscle Shoals.
Okay.
Helen was born there.
All right, okay.
But yeah, man, that's a powerful story right there, man. And one of my favorite artists is Daryl Hall. He was influenced by that Philadelphia sound. You know what I'm saying? He will say that and give credit to that. To him.
So I'm just curious. You already established that you're a musician. Do you fit yourself in a genre, or do you just play whatever's on your heart?
Man, I play music. I feel like I'm more of a black music specialist, honestly. Just because of my upbringing. I feel like and especially like music, then as it goes and that tree spreads out, everything's available to you. But when you're just at the raw essence of what black music is in America, when it veers into jazz, when it veers into soul, when it veers into R&B or blues, it really all makes sense because it's all connected.
So expound on that. Hit it. What is black music? What is black American music?
I would say at its core, it's rooted in shared struggle, shared experiences. If not all struggle, but shared experiences. Early on, I would say it was that blues scale that really came over the water with us. And it's funny because I met a brother one time, and we talked about, he was actually a minister, man, and we were talking about the music of Africa. And I just told him, we were talking about the difference between the black musical experience and African musical experience. I can't remember which country he was from or region. And just talking about the scale, what we consider the blues scale. All that, right? Man, I thought that's something we made up. He was like, he thought the same thing. Even being African, he thought the same thing and being in America until he went and had visited and sat with some elders, right, and had a similar conversation. They said, man, that scale is older than the language. So those notes came over. There's certain scales, there's certain musical attributes that came over here with us and stayed with us. And, to our early conversation about communication, these things are communication. And I would say that, music is language, just raw emotion. Yep. Without even saying a word, and not even a lot of notes. It's just it's a feeling that's conveyed. I love man, it's just something guttural. It's just something in your gut, man. That's black music, man.
But it's more than a feeling. It's a feeling, but it's a familiarity that you can't just. It's hard to describe. And like, to your point, you have to kind of grow up into it. You kind of have to just be immersed into it. You just can't come over and, you know, adopt it or whatever.
It's hard.
It is.
Like anything, you know, it's like learning a language when you get a certain age. If you're born and you hearing that language, like, you know, people that are bilingual, that's a lot easier to learn another language as a child.
Right.
Yeah, it is when you're grown. And so even musical languages, it's a lot easier when you're young and you're immersed before you even realize what it is, you know, and it's that. You know, it's hearing that in the house. Growing up in a house when my grandmother's playing these James Cleveland records, these Mahalia Jackson records. I'm going to church, you know, and again, my grandparents are raising me. So I'm hearing an older version of the music than a lot of people my age were. So I was hearing what they were, you know what I mean? I was hearing what my contemporaries were hearing too. But at home, man, I heard something deeper. You know, I heard something more intuitive. That's what I would say. It's that feeling. It's the thing that connects us. It's that.
So if I can go back.
Go ahead.
If I could go back. So being here from Nashville, parents supported you.
Yeah.
Went to HBCU.
Yeah.
And so where was that hope and where was that connection to you making it? Because you've worked with Tony Braxton, you worked with India Arie, got the Grammy with her as well. Where was that I'm going to make it get to connect you to all those type of people to get there? Or did they find you because you were so talented?
You know, it's interesting because I tell young people that now, like, just be authentic. Be your thing.
Yeah.
Because you never know who's listening.
Watch.
Or who's watching. And somebody always is. Everybody's looking for what's next all the time. And so I did a record that was released, an independent R&B record that was released back in 99. Called Out of Nowhere. And India, through a mutual friend, she heard the project. And that's crazy because when I met her, she knew my project as well as I did when I met her. So it was amazing, man. Yeah. And so, but that, I think,
what a talent she is.
Oh man, and she's incredible. I mean, that's a whole episode in itself, just talking about her. You know, that's what, again, like, there've been a lot of people that I felt like I knew just because I knew their music.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it was. By the time we met, it was already a familiarity because I had already become familiar with her because they were trying to introduce me to her and had already introduced me to her through our music. So by the time we got together, we already knew, I think, that we were kindred spirits in that way. And man, it was just automatic, man. I'm talking about from the first time we even attempted to write together, it was automatic, man. It was just a frequency thing. Yeah. And so that's what, you know, we were, to answer your question, already creatively familiar with each other. By the time we ever got in the same room, we really already knew each other.
And so that's what it takes. Sometimes it's just one opportunity to make that connection, then a door opens.
Man, so, you know, I tell young folks all the time too, you know, if you know, look at a building, look at a house, you see the front door.
Yeah.
Well, once you come in the house, man, there might be 20, 30 doors in the house. Like even, you know what I mean? Like once you get in, there's so many more doors you won't even see until you go through the first one.
Right.
And so that's a lot of times, let's tell them, look, just keep opening doors. Let's keep going through the doors and you'll figure out which one is the next one for you to go through.
So your first project is 99.
Yes. Solo, yeah.
Your first solo project is 99. Were you marketed as a what were you marketed as? What genre did they put you into?
You know, it was just R&B.
Okay.
It was R&B. It was interesting because I don't even know if the neo soul thing had even really become a thing yet.
Okay.
You know, neo soul was, and it really wasn't that, but it was really, the term was more of a description of what my generation of R&B was. That was a description of the kind of R&B we were making.
Okay.
So it was a new version or throwback to soul. That's all it was. It was just a new version of, or a new way to express soul.
Is it a sound, or is it an instrument, or is it
It's an
emotion
approach.
into that? It's an approach.
It's an approach to R&B.
Gotcha.
There's no neo soul Grammy.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because a lot of the artists at the time didn't like the term and still don't. They rejected it. Rejected it hardcore for a long time because, again, you know, we won with India. We won the Grammy for Album of the Year for her album Voice India.
Yeah.
Man, but that's R&B Album of the Year.
Yeah.
Even though it's considered a neo soul album, it won R&B Album of the Year. So to say neo soul is a description of a type of R&B.
Right.
So just like you got hip hop, you might say you got boom bap, you got trap,
Mm-hmm.
you got West Coast, you got right. So these are all descriptors of hip hop. Neo soul was a descriptor of a type of R&B.
Yeah.
At its core, it's really R&B and soul.
That's right.
In some ways, I almost consider it like alternative R&B. So you got alternative alt rock and all this kind of stuff, and they kind of had that little subgenre of it.
Yeah.
Grunge being a subgenre of rock. I always kind of felt it. To your point, it was still R&B, a little different flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Probably lean more into live instrumentation than what was mainstream R&B, but it was still R&B for the most part.
But you know what? I'll tell you what happened. You got guys like me that grew up on like Stevie Wonder, right, and Marvin.
Mm-hmm.
So this was just us being old enough now to start making records. You know, every generation has a right to define the music for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times you find them going back, and I'm finding this now because a lot of the work we did 20, 25 years ago is being sampled heavily by this generation because it's what they grew up on.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with us, it was the same thing. Yeah. We wanted to throw back to the music that meant something to us.
Mm-hmm.
But between Stevie and Marvin and us making records, you had the 80s, you had the early 90s, before we were making records. And so they were intrigued with the new and technology and synthesizers and drum. They were intrigued by it. With us, by the time it got to us, it was like, okay, we get it now. You know, with the 80s, it was super synth heavy. It was all new. Yeah. It was technology. It was the AI of its time, right?
Yeah.
So everybody was excited to incorporate all of this new technology into their music. By the time we came around, it's like, yeah, we get it. I want that boom from the 808. I want that from this. I want that. Yeah, but I want that live bass from like the Stevie record. And I want that Isley Brothers guitar tone. I want that. So it was that. It was, instead of sampling, which had become a thing, we did that, but we just chose to recreate that using technology.
And what were we sampling though back in those days? Or what were you sampling back in those days? You sampling soul records. You sampling funk. You sampling.
Yeah, you sampling that, but then you'd be surprised, man. Like, we spent hours, man, at these record stores. You know, and a lot of the great things came from, you know, the great samples would come from obscure records or folk records, you know, and a lot of times soul records, you know, everybody sampled James Brown. Everybody was, you know, James Brown, arguably the most sampled artist of all time, you know.
So you said something like that. You would find it, and I know it's true, but you would find it from folk records. That you have to have an ear to hear that. And that's where part of your genius come in. But how would you even know to look at a folk record to even sample? Why would you even go there?
You know, a lot of it is just because you wanted to find something different.
Yeah.
That's all it was. And so when you understood, again, at this point, the technology allowed us to do things that had never been done. Meanwhile, our ears were calibrated towards those old things, right? Hip hop being a thing. At this point, it was like, man, if I could find this obscure sample, everybody sampled James at this point. We started, like when sampling was first a thing, everybody sampled all the old soul records. Right. So they'd been exhausted by the early 90s. We'd heard all the old R&B and soul. We'd heard all of that. Man, now you gotta go find
some different.
Yeah. That's what that, and now the technology allowed us to do more with those samples, or to manipulate those samples in ways that we hadn't been able to do before. So we were able to turn things that weren't necessarily meant to be sold. They weren't soul records, but they were soulful. And we were able to incorporate that into what we were doing.
All right, Doc, I'm going to take the gloves off now.
Come on.
Let's go to. I think I'm going to try to camouflage this, but I think you know where I'm going. One of the coldest verses ever. I don't care if it's hip hop, it's R&B, country, neo soul, blues, whatever. I saw her mama just the other day say she's doing well. He called her plenty bitches, gave her 20 stitches. And in jail. Well, bro, tell me about that. Because the reason why I say that is because when you sung that song, you mentioned Drew earlier, Y'all wrote that song together.
I got a story about that too. It's crazy.
Okay. In 1999 you did, but Heather came out, what, 2004 or something like that. Something like that after you.
Yeah.
But because of her, I guess, publicity, a lot of people didn't hear about your version till after that's like an answer to that song. But I want to know about that particular verse, but the passion, man, that just sounds weird.
So hold on. Okay. Before you get there, we ain't even tell these folks what that song was. You about to go ahead.
This song was In My Mind by Heather Headley. So let me tell you a story. Actually, if you hear my album, first track is called Hustler for Life. I was Drew and I were in Virginia Beach working with Teddy Riley and Blackstreet. They were going to record Hustler. They were going to, Blackstreet, they actually recorded it. It was never released. They performed it a couple times, I heard. Yeah. So Drew and I at the hotel waiting on Teddy's team, waiting on somebody from Teddy's team to come pick us up from the hotel one day, take us to the studio. Right. Well, we got a call, said, hey, we're running late. Somebody be there after a while. Man, we just in the room, young and broke. It's like, man, let's just stay in the room, because if we leave, we're going to the club, we're going to spend the house note. Like, let's not do it. Let's just stay in the room, to chill until they call before we go down there and spend some money that we really don't need to spend, right? Man, he pulled out his guitar, man. He's playing these chords, man. And then next thing you know, man, there's In My Mind, right? Fast forward.
Just like that.
Just like that, bro. And it evolved over time. Like we tweaked it a little bit here and there, and it evolved over time. But again, the song was written in 95, came out on my album in 99.
Wow, okay.
Blackstreet didn't do Hustler. I just, I went on and recorded it myself for my album. So Hustler became the lead single off of my album. In My Mind was nothing else on the record like In My Mind. Shout out to Tommy Sims also. Tommy Sims, a legendary songwriter, musician, producer, but he played bass on the record. And even fast forward to Heather's version, when we recut it on Heather, all the same musicians, everybody was the same. They wanted it to be as close as possible. We did some things, we did change some things, and even a little bit. Yeah, and the label wanted that, and a lot of it we cut it the exact same way. So a lot of those changes happened after the fact. But even with that verse, hers is different. Saw his mama the other day. Said he been through a spell. Yeah. Had a bad breakup, thinks she's on his way up, hard to tell. Heather didn't want to cuss. So mine was stronger.
Was it?
Yeah, mine was just, and I think that just being the writer, I think I meant it, you know what I'm saying? And I think it was on her to deliver it, but we had to tweak it and bring it to her, which I respect. I respect her and her convictions. And so, there were a few things that we took, even in bridge, like with me, the bridge was spoken. If you love, I just said it, if you love something, let it go. If it comes back, it's yours to keep. Hers, we put a melody to it. Yes, right. Do you love something? I didn't sing it, I spoke it. So, but it was really interesting. And so now fast forward, that's what I was saying a little while ago. The records we were making then, bro, somebody sampling In My Mind every 5 minutes. I mean, like, I think, like, Lil Baby just did it a month ago. He just sampled it recently. Like Nicki Minaj has sampled it and featured Drake and Lil Wayne on it. I can't tell you how many times that song's been sampled.
Do they contact you? And
they reach out. Yeah. And so, it's that song has definitely been one of the great musical blessings of my life.
Listen to that daggone record. You got to listen to that record. And we were talking about this earlier, because I'm listening to that song like, man, you can play that right now.
Always important to me to tell, and as a producer, because even at the time, even though, along with, Drew, and shout out to my homeboy Mucho in Atlanta, he did a lot of production on that album as well. But at the time, I was very much in the headspace of being an artist, even though we wrote it, I wrote most of it, and co-wrote a lot of it and co-produced, but I wasn't in my producer for a living bag yet. This was early, I was an artist first, right? But authenticity, man, is probably one of my favorite words, and not my favorite word, and now as a producer, I encourage artists to use everything authentic about them. If it's the way you talk, if you got a particular accent, man, I'm leaning on it. You know what I mean? And so I think that's what it was. I think, and the title of the album was Out of Nowhere. Because at the time, Nashville was nowhere as far as black music goes. Right. I had another song on that album called What It Is. it said, money getting funny, my change is strange. Lady had to give me back that diamond ring. I don't mind buying the things, but to find the things, I'll ring. Then my mama singing. That's my mom actually singing back.
Okay,
She said,
all right.
seem like heaven teaching you a lesson. I said, yeah, but they got to know I'm hurting for a blessing. I can't even mention my pension. It's a struggle just to pay you attention, what it is. Second verse, though. Oh, God, wait a minute. Brain freeze. Oh, tragedy. Old lady mad at me. Life getting raggedy. This industry tripping on me. They find out I'm from Tennessee. But I slip into my private place, whisper a verse of amazing grace, and say, Father, all I ask of thee, please, sir, pull a few strings for me. What it is. That's so, it was very much that. It was very much the feeling of being the underdog. Atlanta was super on, but to be in Nashville, and they knew that it, it's country at the time. Now people know, that Nashville has so many more things, right?
Mhm.
But at the time they didn't. And so I felt, man, I ain't gonna lie. I was a young brother with a chip on his shoulder that wanted people to know who we were and what we were about.
Yep.
And that was Black music happening here. But I wanted to be authentic. I didn't want to water it down. I didn't want to sound like I was from anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be very Nashville and authentic.
You about that deal, dog.
Man, it's so tough.
Humbleness in you, dog.
Mm.
The humbleness, because you made your Grammys and Emmys behind the scene.
Mhm.
So you have the choice to come in front if you want to, because you have that ability to
Yes.
sing any genre. And I do want to talk a little bit more about that country, because you got that in you as well.
Mhm.
But you chose to go behind the scene. When we talk, and we've been together, been more time than just this, you're not a cat that's put it out there, hey, look at me, I'm Shannon Sanders, Blase Skip, whatever. You chill behind the scene and not really kind of putting it out there where other people would drop names. So what is that about you that don't have to be out there, but you comfortable in your own
Right.
skin?
Yeah. You know what? Let me tell you, it's interesting because
I love being around people.
so thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Likewise, thank
Yeah,
you. But thank
yeah.
you. It's interesting because there was a point where, this record I was making, right? There was a point where I got stuck.
Yeah.
I was stuck in this deal, until we worked it out. All I could really do was write and produce for other people.
Mm.
It's nothing I really meant to do. I think at some point I knew it would come to that.
Mhm.
But at the time, man, I'm 27, man. Like, I'm just ready to do my thing, right? So it's a lot like being an athlete blowing out a knee. And it's like, man, now what? The knee will heal. Do I wait for the knee to heal and keep playing?
Mhm.
Maybe.
Mhm.
But while it's healing, man, let me do a little coaching. Let me sit over here and, I'll do a little coaching, or you can move into the front. It's very much that, people move into commentating.
Mhm.
And so it's very much that for me. And so meeting India was that. And so she, being the incredible creative force that she is, her voice was so phenomenal and her purpose was so big. Meeting her, and I told her this, man, when I met her, I realized that a lot of my purpose was to feed hers.
Mm.
And it made me realize that what I consider to be a ding or a dent was an indention. It was really God's plan.
Ooh.
So if you look at the rim of this glass, right?
Yes, sir.
It's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So in my career, I considered it a ding. I thought it was a blemish, man. I thought my artistry, man, it was broken right there.
Mm.
Not realizing that God had bent that on purpose to allow me to give an accurate pour. I realized, bro, it wasn't for me to hold, bro. It was for me to pour out, bro.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, it was like, that's why I got all this creativity, not for me.
Yeah.
And so it was that, man. I found it incredibly powerful to be able to help be, I found it so much more gratifying to coach in that way. And that's what it became, but I was able to use my own musical athleticism to make those around me better. Yeah. Steph Curry is amazing. Man, his coach was amazing. Steve Kerr was a shooter.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, Steve still busts his ass every now and then in Boston, and they still, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, so that's the thing. And so it's that. And man, so for me, it was like, okay, I realized my artistry was not necessarily something at that point. Right. In the next season was not for me to put out front, but to use in the back as a tool to help develop others.
You say that, but a lot of people don't get that, man. It's so hard for them not to want to be out front. They don't take advantage or embellish their talents that they have because they want to be seen.
Yeah.
Nah. It was never really that. And I think that in that moment I realized, like, you know what? I like doing this. I like the development.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't about, I don't think I was ever self-serving enough to sit in an artist space. It was never just about that. I enjoyed making music with people too much. I didn't like being out of the studio that much. Like, okay, you're in the studio. Okay, now stop doing that and go here and do here. And, and man, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to wake up every day and do that. And to just be an artist, you couldn't do that. You had to spend a lot of time doing a lot of other things, supporting your artistry, which I love and respect. But for me, man, I really enjoyed the process of getting people ready for that and helping people develop that were designed, that God had designed to do that. He designed me to do something different, but to support those that he designed to do that.
And not ready to go there yet in conversation. I believe that's why you're at BMI today.
Very much so.
That's my thought on that.
Mm-hmm.
But how was it to work with those?
I mean, you know, you work with people like that, you know, you can't help but be in awe of their talent.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you're talking about generational talents, man. You're talking about people that it just doesn't come along often. And it's a blessing, you know, it's really a blessing to just be in a room with these people when they do what they do. You know, it's kind of like being in the presence of a great athlete. Very much that. But it is a great feeling to know that you have the ability to bring something out of them or to challenge them in a way. And so I find that to be a blessing, that they, you know, that people trust me, that artists trust me, creatives trust me with their gifts to help bring out more of them. But I think that they trust me because they know that I am them.
Right.
They know that I'm, you know, a lot of, well, like, you know, in the studio, man, I'm not going to beat you up. You know what I mean? Because I know, but I'll beat you up for about hour and a half, 2 hours, because that's what a show is. Man, I'm not going to have you singing at the top of your lungs for 3 hours just because I know how that feels. I'm not going to do that to you. You know, I know I'm going to get the most out of you in about the same time that a show is. That show is going to be about 90 minutes, and I know you can go hard for about 90 minutes. Hey, man, let's shut it down. It's just like an athlete. Man, you're not going to, some folks might get a little workout in. Man, you're not going to do your full workout routine and then go play a full game. You on the same day, you're not going to do it. So I think understanding the player. I always think that the best coaches have been players. So yeah, in the studio, I'll tell them, warm up on the way, sing on the way, so you'll be warm when you get here. We don't have to spend a lot of time doing that. Let's make sure you're good and warm, just like doing your stretches. Let's make sure you're good and warm and ready. So when we start singing, I'm going to get it out you. You know what I'm saying? It might be Joe Jackson-ish. I'm going to get it out you. You know what I'm saying? But only for about an hour and a half, and then we're going to shut it down because I want you to rest, and I don't want to hurt your instrument.
And even I've heard these artists with these big names, they even want direction as well. I mean, when they come in and they have producers, I mean, obviously they are who they are, but they're human beings, you know? So
human beings.
They want to hear what you have to say to make them better, right? They need that.
And see, and understand, like, you know, everybody has different gifts.
Yeah.
Part of what's in my toolbox is vocal production.
Okay.
I just, as a producer, I produce, but I happen to sing.
Yes.
So a lot of producers will bring in a vocal producer. They'll bring somebody into the session to do that. I don't need that. So that's the thing, because I do that. So that's what I'm saying. I get that. So a lot of times, if you're just a producer of the track, you might bring in somebody that has more of a, you know, you might invite their vocal coach or somebody that has vocal sensibilities to come in. You know, for me, being a singer also, you know, I consider it a blessing because I'm able to get that out of a singer, but then at the same time, since I made the track too, I know exactly what I want you to do, you know, so I can hit you with an idea and then maybe you take it beyond, you know, what I'm proposing. But, you know, a lot of times singers will get in the studio, and to your point, it'll be, do something, and then, do something else. And then without direction, it's like, well, like what? And so here you are singing the same thing 20 times and never getting to it, beating your instrument up or your voice up and never getting to it, versus being specific and, you know, measure twice, cut once.
And it's interesting how much money's in that song cut up with the producer. You just meant a voice producer, and all these different elements,
musicians,
and all that. Man, it's cut up a lot. That's interesting.
Who would you say is your favorite producer?
Mm.
Give me your top three. I know this is, and I'm, we might have our favorites coming from it from a consumer's perspective, but you got yours from a technical, all that. Who's your? Give me your three.
I would say, man, my top one, because I think from there everything else comes from there. But I would say Quincy Jones.
Okay.
Quincy was a monster, man. He was a beast, man. Just because Quincy he was a musician first,
right?
Yep. But then when you
what instrument did he play?
Oh man, come on, man. Come on, man. But hold on, where's he from though? Where's he from though? Whatever, man.
Go ahead, man.
But yeah, Q was a musician, so again, he gets it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then Quincy studied, man. Quincy sought information. Yeah. And it's amazing when you really think about it. Quincy did his best work. I mean, Quincy was in his 50s when he produced.
Yeah.
And so all of his experiences were available to him in that moment. He'd learned so much, man. I think that Quincy's probably been my greatest influence just because he was able to transcend genre so well, and just such a student of the game, man. That's what I respect about Quincy, is that he didn't just go in, he studied what it was and really gave a lot of thought, but he shared. Quincy knew his limitations as a musician, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing I really took from Quincy's book and, Quincy's school of thought, which is call the right man for the job.
Yeah. Okay.
I play keys, but man, I might be, for this particular song, I might not be the player for this, man. So who's the right player for this? So a lot of it is the removal of ego to call the right person for the job. That's really what it is,
man. Quincy as well. He's in my top 3 or 4. But I think about what he did with Michael Jackson. He said, "Hey, I need Rod Temperton to come in here and do this thing." From Heat Wave, but brought him there. You know what I'm saying? And have the vision to know that he can do it.
But see, that's the thing. Like, think about that, because that is an incredible moment.
That is.
To look at that group and say, okay, within this, I see you within the group, and so to pull you out of that, and isolate that, because I need specifically what you do. That's incredible. Johnson from Brothers Johnson.
He
played bass a lot, man. He was a monster, man. You go back and listen to those bass lines from the Brothers Johnson records. Man, incredible.
Get the wet out my face.
Man.
Oh God.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
But then to find vocalists like a Patty Austin and some of them, it's kind of like, I would have never heard of Patty Austin if it wasn't for Quincy Jones.
But again, no racism in the studio. He didn't care what color you were. Man, you bumping, you bump. You know what I mean? And so that's the thing with Quincy, man. It's like, there's a lot that can be taken from Quincy, man. Quincy, he did it right. He did it right, man.
What was the Secret Garden? Remember that song, Secret Garden? And we talked about this before, but Mike was supposed to do El DeBarge.
Oh, wow.
And so Mike's like, I'm doing other stuff. I'm kind of too big to work with these people. So he got El DeBarge to come in, and it worked. It was perfect. And I think even Mike said he may have regretted not being a part of something. But his vision to say, okay, I want Mike for this, but plan B is this, end up being a perfect fit.
But see, think about that. And I never thought about it until this moment. You saying that? When I think about vocal timbre, similar. They both sing it in upper register.
That's right.
So he knew that we needed that frequency. We got Barry White covering this.
Yep.
Somebody covering this frequency, this one. He needed that layer. That would have been Mike, but that was also it.
Also L. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, you mentioned Jefferson, Jefferson Street. And there's something to think about, man.
Yeah.
Because, people know about Beale Street. And that's it. They need to know about Jefferson Street.
Yeah.
And something, I'm from New Orleans, so, we have to document on Hurricane Katrina, that was broken. We just had another one not too long ago. Spike did that. But man, I think it's important enough that America knows how important Jefferson Street is.
So important.
Something needs to be done on that. I'm just going to lay the seed there. Something to bring America awareness to that.
Yeah.
And the importance to Nashville, to music overall, not just country music, but all music.
All music.
It's pivotal.
Yeah.
It's pivotal in today's music, and have a lot of impact on it that people don't know.
So come on, Nashville, and tell us about Jefferson Street.
Man, Jefferson was important. You had a lot of nightclubs on Jefferson. The thing to realize too, think about it, Jefferson Street connects two major black universities. I mean, that little strip of Jefferson Street.
You can say three.
Well, yes.
Mhm.
If you count Meharry being right there,
Yeah.
but Fisk, which is, which was at the time, when you ask older people, Fisk was the heartbeat of black academia back then, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, man. So you had Fisk, and then right down the road,
Mhm.
you had Tennessee State, which was producing athletes like Wilma Rudolph, and, the likes of. So it was very important. I mean, you're talking about the heartbeat of black culture in this very important southern city, between the churches and just between the nightclubs and these institutions, these universities. There was a lot of important things that were happening on Jefferson
And
Street.
we were welcome to gig where we could
Yeah.
go make some money
Yeah,
too.
yeah. But Nashville was interesting, and Jefferson Street was interesting because you talk to old musicians and they'll tell you, like, you get your head cut on Jefferson. Now, when I say get your head cut, think back to Cadillac Records. You remember when the fight broke out in the club because they walked in the club, somebody was on stage, and while he's playing, they start playing. That's how right?
Yeah.
Musicians would tremble knowing they had to come to Nashville because you get your head cut because of Tennessee State. You had and the incredible music department that was there, right? A lot of these people came from all over to study music at Tennessee State and never left. A lot of great singers that came through to be Fish Jubilee singers and never left. So you come and you get off the bus in Nashville, somebody's standing there holding a trumpet or a saxophone, looking at you. As soon as and this is literal, right? Like, I'm serious. Like, folks would get off and they just start playing your show. They start playing your better than your guitar player that's getting off the bus with you.
Yeah.
And if your guitar player's shaking in his boots, because he's about to get a Greyhound bus ticket back to the crib.
Yeah.
This guy getting ready to get on the bus.
Yeah.
That was Nashville. Like, people would come here to pick up musicians, or they knew that there were phenomenal musicians here. There's a legendary story that Bootsy tells. Matter of fact, I think it's published in Rolling Stone, where Bootsy Collins talks about a Nashville show, and the energy was so high. James had a plane. James would fly to the gig. James Brown, this when he was in the band with James Brown.
Right.
James would always fly to the gig. The band would be on the bus. They played Nashville, and they fell into a groove so tough in Nashville. The energy was so high at the Nashville show. James got on the bus with them and rode to Cincinnati, I think. But they wrote Sex Machine.
Ooh, wee.
And that became Sex Machine. This little groove that they fell into became Sex Machine.
Man, that's one of the funkiest songs ever.
2, 3, 4.
Yeah. So Nashville was pivotal, man. I mean, it was just such a, because of all the black culture in town, all that Fisk, Meharry, and Tennessee State, and, American Baptist, all that was here, definitely made it one of the epicenters of black culture in the South.
So I'm going to ask you this. Those elements and those ingredients haven't necessarily changed. You still got a powerful band at Tennessee State. You still got these institutions, and you still have a core. Even like when I first moved here back in the 2000s, you go to B.B. King's and you'd hear some of the best singers you'd ever heard of and never knew their name.
Oh yeah,
those elements are still here.
Yeah.
But what makes Nashville different from in Atlanta, from Memphis or New Orleans or one of these places?
What's interesting is that those places are known for black culture. A lot of times people come here and are immersed in it, and then leave. They'll take it to Atlanta, to Memphis, some of these other places, right?
Yeah.
But to your point, it's always been here. It's always been a great development center of talent, a great curation center of talent. But it hasn't always been a media center. So because of where we are now with technology and access, right? You can sit here and be seen. That's right. Used to be where you would come here and you develop, but there were no media outlets. There was no way to be seen or heard here necessarily, especially because country was so loud, right? You'd have to leave to be heard or to be seen. And so that's why people would leave and go other places.
That's very interesting. And it just made me think of something. There was an artist back in the early 90s. Probably one of the first, what you could call neo soul artists, and her name was Joy. Don't remember her. I think it's Joy Gilliam. Yeah,
that's Jefferson Street Joe Jones.
Right. She was from right.
Yeah. Granddaughter. Yeah.
Right. And
we came up together. We're exactly the same age. Like Joy and I started together.
But where did she get her? Where did she start to get her fame? When
she moved to Atlanta.
Yeah,
she moved to Atlanta and she married Gipp from
right.
And that's what it was. And then she was part of Lucy Pearl.
Yep.
You know, and so that's what it was. But that's what I'm talking about. I stayed.
Mm-hmm.
Joy went. Joy left. Joy got on quicker because she went to one of the epicenters of Black music.
Okay.
But by the time she got down there, they thought she was amazing, which she was, because she was developed here. She had already developed in this this very very potent, very fertile ecosystem, which is the Nashville music scene. So she was already super hyper developed by the time she went anywhere. So she was still, you know, she was young and ready to go by the time she got down there. That's why.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong. She had a name though. That Gilliam name.
Man, that in sports.
In sports.
She made that name mean something in music.
She made that name mean something in music, but I'm saying that, and he had his rough times, right? I think he was known as Jefferson Street.
That's a dad, but understand at the time, her grandfather was also a coach at Tennessee State.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe Senior. Joe Gill.
I'm talking about the
Jefferson Street Joe's at that.
Joe's her dad.
Yeah, legendary quarterback. Pittsburgh Steelers.
Pittsburgh Steelers, man. And people don't know his story. Nashville know his story.
Oh yeah.
Every year they talk about it around this time or what have you. But I'm saying that obviously the grandfather, but the father as well, even though he had his tough times, he's an amazing man. And even though he had his flaws, still gave her the name.
Gave her the name, yeah.
She was able to take that and do something with it.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? So we got to be cognizant and appreciative, of everything that we have.
Yeah.
And the people that are around us, even they go through all these difficult times, we just can't just write them off. You know what I'm saying? Because all of us fall into some difficult times.
You know, it was a great moment. I remember her playing 328 Performance Halls. You guys remember that, right? Used to be a venue here in Nashville called 328 Performance Hall. I remember Joy came back and played. I remember her dad being there. And I remember the look of pride on his face, watching this baby girl come home, feel like that. And I was proud, you know, because Joy's been a long time friend. And so just to see her come home, rock the Ville like that, but to know her father's struggles, but to know he got together enough to come and support his baby girl. Yeah, and that was an amazing moment. Yeah.
So what would you say, you know what you're doing at BMI and develop talent and all of that. What's next for you, man? And what's the hottest thing out right now that you like the people to know about?
Oh, man. You know, I'm having a blast at BMI. Just giving access. You know, I tell folks, man, as cheesy as it sounds, I never imagined I would enjoy creating opportunity as much as I do music. I never imagined that would be the case. It is just as fulfilling for me. And man, that's what the future looks like. I want to continue to do that. You know, I want to do that even more than I have for the foreseeable future. I would say that that's what it is. It's definitely about continuing to help talent develop and exposing this talent, creating stages, you know, creating events, creating opportunities for these people to be heard and to be seen and to grow their careers and their crafts. As far as what to be excited about, man, there's so much to be excited about. I'll tell you one thing that's going on when I got to BMI. The one thing I didn't anticipate was the deep well of talent in country of Black people. I didn't realize that there was that, man. I mean, I knew we were doing it, right? You know, and history has shown us the Charlie Prides, the Darius Ruckers, you know, so we've always known that they were here. It's way more of them than we realized, and they're way more talented than we realized. And so, you know, one of the things that I task that community with is having authentic conversations with us, with community. Start a lot of these conversations with us. And so, you know, building bridges and connecting that creative community to opportunity. You know, it may not exist in mainstream country, to be honest. You know, your opportunities might not be there, but there's a tremendous opportunity for these Black country artists, I feel, at Black radio, you know, but I think that it's important that they start their conversations in the community, you know, in their efforts to be supported.
So how did they feel about Beyonce's album? Is that kind of how you feel about that? And did she win an award for it?
She won a Grammy. Yeah, she won a Grammy for that.
What you think?
You know, congrats to her. I think it's phenomenal, you know, because here's the thing that people don't realize about the Grammys. One thing that we didn't talk about, I was Nashville's first Black Grammy chapter president, 2015-17. When you understand the criteria for these awards, every award and category carries its own criteria. In an album category, when I say that, I mean R&B album of the year, hip hop album of the year, right? Rock album of the year. So this is country album of the year that she won. Only 51% of the record has to be country. And it's that. So that's where a lot of the argument came in. No, it's not country, it's not this. Well, when you got to understand criteria, you know, what qualifies this as a country album, and then understanding that only 51% of it had, the other 49 could have been hip hop, it could have been polka, it didn't matter, it could have been anything, right? Yeah. But only 51, and so she met that criteria. Now, here's where the argument came in, and so since then, there's been the creation of a contemporary country category. Well, if you know the Grammys, man, these things don't come up overnight.
I know, that's what I'm trying to think. What is?
Okay, let's talk about it, because best contemporary country album, right, has come up since then, because people made the argument, well, it's not country. Well, arguably it is. By whose standards is it country or not country, right? Is it, you know, a modern take on country? Is it forward thinking? Yeah. So what you said about alternative R&B, it's really contemporary R&B. I said earlier, every generation has a right to define the music for themselves. So your mama's country ain't your country.
Right.
Black country ain't that country. So to say contemporary, I think we're moving into a time where every genre needs that. Every album, and this is my opinion, R&B needs the same thing. You need traditional R&B, best traditional R&B album, best contemporary R&B album. You know, truth is, Babyface is still making phenomenal R&B records. Is it fair for him to be in the same category with SZA? No, she's making contemporary R&B. He's making traditional R&B. Anita Baker. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. If Dolly Parton makes a country album, it's not fair for her to be up against right. So if
Taylor Swift or whoever,
right?
Yep.
So if they would have already had that category when Beyonce won, there wouldn't have been an argument. If Beyonce would have won best contemporary country album, nobody would have argued that, because guess who else would have been in that category? Jelly Roll, probably Morgan Wallen, Shabuzi.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? And then traditional would have been left for Lainey Wilson. So a straight traditional.
I think you're right. It wouldn't have been no argument.
It wouldn't have been no argument, because it's not about, we're trying to make it a black. It's not a color thing. It's not. It's a style thing. So it's the same thing. If you're making traditional country records.
And that's what I was going to say. It's a style that you can call, to me, it's more of a tradition thing. And there's a group of people who are getting older who still want to be relevant, and they're getting pushed out by these new artists. I'm not saying that they're getting older and it's time for them to go, but there's a place for their music.
There's a place for it.
And it's too crowded when you got some of these younger folks in here doing a different style.
But watch this. If Beyonce wants to come back around and make a traditional country album, she can. Yeah. And then she can compete in the traditional category. Yeah. But then if Lainey Wilson or somebody, if Dolly Parton wants to add hip hop beats to her country and compete in contemporary country, if that's the art she wants to make, then it would align with that box, which is contemporary.
So let me go back to you just talking about some of these black country artists who are coming out. Do you think they will get more acceptance without the country label in the black community?
Without saying it's country?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. But I understand what it is, you know, especially given that, you know, historically genre has meant who and not what, right?
Okay.
We're not talking about the music you're making. Genre was really originally meant to connotate the note who's making that music, right?
Okay.
So
like B.B. King is blues genre.
Yeah. So it's
but he's a popular,
Listen,
but he's a popular artist.
You gotta go back to your So, but yeah, you know, I think that it's somewhat confusing in the market. And I think that the problem with Black people and the term country as it relates to us is that it's associated with racism. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, historically we felt like it's been a soundtrack, if you will, of that. But
you thinking the South, you thinking rebel flags, you thinking all that stuff.
But that's not necessarily the case.
Leonard Skinner, their whole thing wasn't it the two rebel flags or whatever? Yeah. So Yeah.
So with that being the case, you know, with so many associations with that, I think that we're traumatized and we're triggered by hearing that. You know, I think, and it's not even the music when you think about it. We're not even talking about. You say country, you're not talking about the music. A lot of times it's just, you know, associated thoughts and memories with the Southern experience, and I think that's what it brings on for us. And so that's why, you know. But at the same time, in fairness, these artists love that music, man. They really love that music, and they're trying to make traditional, what they would consider traditional country music.
I'm gonna give you guys a couple of songs that I think we didn't even know that they were country songs necessarily, but they were country songs. Stevie Wonder, I Ain't Gonna Stand For It. That's a damn country song. Hotter Than July.
Yeah.
Also, he did Place in the Sun. That was a little bit early. I can remember. There's a place in the sun. That's basically just a country song too. The Commodores did Easy. They did Sail On. Sail On. That's a country song.
Long time.
Yeah, right.
Come on, man.
Then
Back your name.
Come on.
And I think you worked with this artist. This is the most popular song, Who You Are, Reese.
Oh yeah.
That was basically that's basically a country song. And I get one more. Tony. I've been thinking of you. You've been thinking of me. That song.
Okay.
These are all R&B songs, but they got that little country vibe to it. But now we accepted them. We listened to them. When the album come on, you listen to the whole thing, right? Nobody pushes those to the side because they're country.
No.
That's just Black music.
It's just Black music.
And to me, that if I think K. Michelle's trying to do her country thing now.
She's doing
If they just take the country part out of it, I think it'll just be more palatable to most Black folks. That's just my opinion.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of what I think what you're talking about too is production style. I think that our taste, if you will, as a community, man, we like them drums up. You know what I mean? So a lot of it might, we like that bass. You know, so it might be like a lot of it is really just a mixed thing. And turn the electric guitars down, maybe turn the acoustic guitars up.
Yeah.
You know, cut the drums up. You know, turn that bass up. Man, we might rock with that a little tougher. You know what I mean?
I think it's more that than it is race, to be honest with you. Obviously it's there, but I
think it's the sound?
I think it's the sound. I think it's the sound when you have white folks that are authentic lovers. They have a particular sound they listen to. They have in their head. And so when you bring this different sound, and that to them, that's not country music in their mind because of the sound, not necessarily
fair.
Race. And I think it's fair.
That's fair.
Because if you come in my genre and you're going to say you are R&B, soul, or hip hop, and that bass ain't hitting right, bro, that ain't you. I don't care what you look like.
Exactly.
It's not that.
Well, I think that's the beauty of this traditional versus contemporary conversation, right? Because that's what that is. What you're saying is, if I'm a country purist, if I've grown up on this, don't come and change it. Same thing we say about Nashville. You come in, you're knocking all the buildings down. Don't come because you love it. Don't come to change it. It's the same thing in country. And I think it's that. It's Black people coming into the space
and then they want to
because they love it, right? But it may not be accepted. And so when you come back to the culture with it, it's like, we didn't commission that, right? You didn't make it for us to start with. So that's the beauty of that. If you make country for the culture, it might be labeled contemporary because of our taste, right? Stylistically, our taste might lean to what one might consider contemporary country, where, you know, and not even based on race. I know a lot of Black people that love traditional country music. You know, hey, I love it. anything in its pure form, you know, there's some great songs that I
Man, great songs. Yeah.
great traditional
Yep.
country music as a black man. You know what I mean? So it had anything to do with that. I think it just comes down to taste. You know, you rock with what you rock with. But
I could bring you to, you know, Louisiana, my state. You know, we have a genre of music called Zydeco, and it has to do with the banjo.
You got the banjo and that accordion.
And an accordion.
Yeah.
So if you saying you Zydeco and you don't have that banjo in there,
what we doing?
What we doing?
Yeah.
I think it's the same. It has nothing to do with race. It has to do with production.
Yeah.
The type of instrument.
Like that's the thing that makes the style the style.
Yeah.
Like that's just what it is. You know, this macaroni with no cheese. How you gonna call it macaroni with cheese if it ain't got no cheese in it, right?
Right. Everybody can't make potato salad, right?
It's just that. Like that.
No
It's
pepperoni,
you know what I'm saying? It's those nuances are what make the thing the thing. You know, so we want to exclude the thing but call it that. It's not fair. So if we want to do that, then I think that it's fair to have contemporary where you can play with it. You know what I mean? To say that this is a modern take or, you know, more experimental or what you said earlier, alternative.
Yep.
I have one last observation. And I like you expound upon this for the younger generation out there.
True.
And we talked about this before too, is that obviously you're talented, you had the support, you had to go get it, the stick to itness and what have you, and intelligence, but the way you talk is more than talent. You read the books. Can you talk to the importance about reading and what that does, how that makes you smarter? You know, it just makes you smarter. Just whenever you can learn from the experiences of others. I think that's a great help. Just access. You know, it's a blessing to have access to information. You know, I feel like we owe it to our ancestors. To tap into this information, man. We got people used to be, you know, at one point beat and killed for doing that. So I owe it to them to inform myself and to inform the next generation and encourage them to do so. But I think a lot of that is just rooted in just me wanting to be the best version of myself. Not only for myself, but, you know, for my family. That's right. For those that I work with, for my community. That's it. You know, I tell folks this thing is like running a relay. The songwriter in me goes to the word lineage, which I refer to often. You look at the word lineage, it's Lineage. Right. Break that up. Line, age. Swap them. Age line is what lineage is. So I see myself on this age line. Man, I'm just a dot on it, you know. This thing is a relay, man, and I just want to run a strong leg, you know, and so running a strong leg is me working out, and that workout, that mental, emotional workout, spiritual workout, a lot of times is rooted in seeking out of information, whether it be reading or sitting with elders, you know, or just people that have some information that I need, man. But I think it's very important that we commune, that we, even in settings like this where we have conversations and, you know, have community, calm, being with, unity, you know, love words, you know, and that's the beauty, man. That's the beauty of reading is that, you know, you have, again, the opportunity to learn not only from your own experiences, but from those of others. And Rand, I do have one more. And as us being in position as leaders and talking about you specifically right now, you said you want to help reach out and pull the next person out. That sounds good. That's a good sound bite. But in reality, we don't do it enough. You know, we get there and then we are afraid to do it because we don't want to lose our spot. And we get into the mentality. You mentioned Goody Mob. I got to get mine. You got to get yours. And I appreciate that you think the way you think because it is a risk still in American time for a person of color to say, I'm going to put my sponsor on someone else that look like me and pull them. You know what I mean? And so I think that's important that you pointed that out, that that's something that's important to you to do. Yeah, it is, man. You know, like I said, at one point I was Grammy chapter president, and it was very important to me at the time. And we set up a lot in our meetings that the best thing you could do while you're on this board, outside of the work that you're here to do, is to be seeking out your replacement. Find somebody to bring into the organization that could sit in your chair and do as good a job, if not the best thing you can do. If you're really concerned with the health and the work of this organization, that's the best thing you can do. You know, and I stood on that, and I feel like that, you know, even in life and career and community, like the best thing I can do is coach up the next one, you know, is to give information, you know, who am I? Somebody gave me information, so who am I to hold it
you know, and not to pass that along. Like I said, this thing is a relay. Somebody gave me the baton, man. I'm here to run a strong leg, but it's on me to hand it off to a smooth handoff.
Mm-hmm.
No, don't drop it.
You give it to them that speed and that momentum so they can go further than where you went.
And just let them know, like, man, I want you to see me run a strong leg so you know it's expected of you when you run this leg.
Right. Man, we appreciate having you on the show.
Totally great to be here, man. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Again, Nashville's finest right here. Shannon Sanders here on Connoisseurs and Conversations. Southside. That we're going to wrap the show on that note. Until the next one, we out.